absolutely, congratulations, and I am impressed. And Sister Harris, thank you so much for the invitation, and I have to agree, after listening to Jeremy and Earl and Darren, you didn't need a brother like me to be rolling up in him. Anyway, I thank you so much. You know, I've yet to hear his name spoken, and I'm sure that you're probably recording this, so I want to say to you, my brother, I want to say to you, a champion of humanity. I want to say to you, and I'm sure that when you pull your suit back, there's a big S there because you're like Superman, and that's your founder, Gerald Shatarian. And so, Gerald, I look forward to one day meeting you again. I know that you and I met in Chicago at the Clean Global Initiative, but at the time we met, I only just knew you by name. I had no idea of this body of work that stands before us all. And so, to a true champion of humanity, I just say, God bless you, my brother. God bless you. To all of you who are family and friends, phenomenal for you to be here. There's a young man in the audience who is a member of the graduating class. Corey, where are you? Corey Matthews. Can you bring the house lights up? Stand there. Can you bring those lights up, please? So Corey, stand there, but let me tell you what this young brother, he had an opportunity to come to our organization, National Society of Black Engineers. And the National Society of Black Engineers holds one of the largest repository of black engineering talents in the country. And when we have an annual convention, that annual convention is attended by 9,000 people. Corey came in as an intern for us, and he had 2 days to network all the computers to make sure that those 8,000 or 9,000 people got registered on time. And in 2 days, that young brother pulled it all together. So proud of him, and so we had a chance to sit down yesterday and chat, and another one of the beautiful black men that I know is a brother named Prince, and Prince is a computer guru, so he and I hooked up, he and Corey, and so the three of us are going to form a bond and a mentorship that extends far beyond this. And as I was sitting there, I couldn't help but wonder, you know, how blessed I am that God has put me in such a wonderful position to experience such wonderful things. And you all have an individual that's a part of your staff, and you can be seated, Corey. Thank you. Well, I've just been wanting to stand all night. But you all have a member of your staff, and I've been blessed to, God, I bet you if you counted the number of young people that I had a chance to interact with, I wouldn't be surprised if that number was 100,000. And I say that conservatively. And of the 100,000 or more young people that I ever had a chance to interact with in my life, I've been able to really give it some serious thought and think, who is the greatest of all of those students that I ever met? And that young brother works for you. His name is Justin Steele. Originally from Mississippi family, but I lived in Seattle for 18 years, and I had a program, an internship program, where we were trying to bring young African-American engineers to get experience. And I met this young brother. He was a chemical engineering major at UVA. And I'm standing before you today because as a national leader in the organization, he was so impressed, and we had a great time. We experienced what I call a holistic education. Not only did we study engineering, but we used to study financing and investments. I studied Black history, so every day we would talk about African American history, and we prayed together as brothers. So those were the 4 key components of a holistic education. But Justin Steele, you're standing up there and you're video recording this thing, and I want to say to all of you, he is the greatest young brother I've ever had the pleasure in my life. So now at this point, I just want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to your family, I don't want to talk to your friends, I just want to talk to you. And what I want to ask you to do, the 2013 class of year, I want you to transition to greatness. That's what I'm asking you to do. And I shouldn't say transition to greatness. I should say I want you to continue your transition to greatness, because I know what some of your backgrounds are like. And from where you came from, God bless this program that it can come out and change lives like it has done with you. And so when I talk about you continuing your transition to greatness, I want to let us define what transition means. Because transition means to change. And I know you got some folks in there, I ain't never gonna change. I don't care what happens, I ain't changing. No. You change, family. I don't know nothing in life that's ever survived and never thrived that did not change. So I want you to continue your change. And sometimes I don't want you to listen to the family. He up there and I ain't think he all that, he had to change. He done changed, he ain't like he used to be. Man, I ain't like I used to be. I ain't gonna be like I used to be. That's why you're sitting here. Because you ain't like you used to be. Change is a good thing. Transition is a good thing. Greatness. I said I want you to transition to greatness. I want you to think about what greatness means. Greatness means that you're going to do something that benefits somebody other than yourself, including yourself. But greatness ain't about you doing it just for you. So I want you to transition to greatness. Now, some of you may ask, well, why would Brother Mack ask us to continue our transition to greatness? In the words of the great poet laureate, Jay-Z. Men lie, women lie, numbers, them don't lie. So just listen at what the numbers say. In 2009, when most of you would have started when most of you would have started high school, if you were to take all the students in 2009 in this great nation of ours that look just like you, only 54% are sitting in a situation where they're getting ready to graduate. 54%. That is a travesty. In the District of Columbia, right here in our nation's capital, 38% of young brothers who look like you, only 38% of them even graduated high school. That is a travesty, especially when you compare that to the fact that 88% that don't look like you can graduate. That's a travesty. Them numbers don't lie. And because of them numbers, that's why I need you to continue your transition to greatness. Now, given these positions, the question is, should you listen to some members of the family that say, don't change, don't transition, or should we transition? I would contend, I don't want to stay that course. I can remember when I was at my all-black high school in Jackson, Mississippi, 300 plus in my graduating class. Unlike today, where better than 50% of us can't graduate high school, there was no such thing as 50% not graduating in my all-black high school in Jackson. Maybe 1%, which is 3, and those 3 went to summer school and got their credit they needed, and then they graduated. At best. So I'll never ask you to do nothing that a brother himself won't do. So let me just take you back through my life and just share with you some key inflection points that led to me to transition. First of all, my father was an alcoholic. My father wasn't the best man that he could be, but he wasn't the best man I wanted him to be, but maybe he was the best man he could be. I don't know what it was like to be a black man in Jackson, Mississippi, trying to raise 3 boys. I don't know what that was like. So maybe that father was his friend, but I was mad at my father for a long time, but before he died, I'm glad to say that me and that brother made amends, and I understand that no matter what, he is my daddy. But my mother explained to us what divorce was at an early age, and we said, yeah, let's do that to Dad. But he's my dad. So that left my mother to raise 3 boys. She raised me, Bug, and Goldfish. That should tell you where I'm from. I'm from the hood, everybody got a nickname. But Bug and Goldfish, even at that early age, were an inflection point in my life because I used to watch those brothers. My mother would work 2 jobs. We would see her on a Sunday night before we went to sleep, and we wouldn't see her until Saturday morning because she would work a job and then go to the second job. Bug and Goldfish, they would only do just enough to get by. They wouldn't do their homework. They'd do just enough to get by. And when it came time for report cards, they'd bring that report card home, they'd give it to my mama, and to me a report card was like a paycheck. So they was giving my mother minimum wage at best. And just when her heart was broken, don't worry about it, family, I came home. Just when the heart looked like it was about to be broken, I brought out a real paycheck from mom. All A's for it, right? So Bird and Gold is what they helped me. And I'm not talking about my brothers because they my brothers and I love my brothers. Daryl Jones was another inflection point in my life, and I went to this all-black high school, and I remember the day he walked into the classroom. Came from my high school, but he was a cadet at the Air Force Academy. Now, you better understand something about those academies. You better be on top of your A game when you get inside those academies. So I remember when that brother walked in his dress white uniforms, all the sisters looking at him like, ooh. Brother's fine. And I remember sitting at the back of the classroom like, yeah, that brother's fine. And it wasn't because, maybe I had this different kind of thing for him, but I was in love with this young black man. I had never seen such a young, positive, beautiful black man. And yes, I fell in love with him. And maybe we as black men ought to be in love with each other a little bit more. All right? Okay? No. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. Because I love every one of you. I'm not sweating at it. It's our problem, ego tripping. I love you. Say that. Yes, brothers on the sisters, y'all leave this alone for a minute, brothers. I love you. That's really good. So when Daryl walked in the classroom, yes, I was in love with him, but I remember that day Daryl and I went to play tennis that day because his father was my tennis coach, and I looked up to this brother. He was beautiful. And Daryl looked at me and he asked me, Carl, what are you going to do when you leave Lanier High School? And I gave him that all too familiar one-word answer. I don't know. At that point, Daryl looked at me and said, you will be a failure. And I'm looking at him like, hold up, dog. I'm loving you, man. I'm in love with you. You going to tell me I'm a failure? But Daryl looked at me and he said, Carl, because you don't have a plan for success, that automatically puts you in a plan of failure. You got to have a plan for success. It was an inflection point. I changed from that. And then I can remember when my year walked into my life. I was at my all-black high school. I was taking advanced math and calculus and chemistry and physics. And I just figured, that's it for me. I'm not going any further. But my counselor said, you should be an engineer. Engineer? I don't know about no engineer. So I'm going to go to Mississippi State. I'm going to learn how to drive a train. Now, believe me, that wasn't my fault that me, as a black child, graduating high school, didn't know nothing about engineering, because who exposed me to it? Who exposed me to what Europe has exposed you to? So my counselor, loving me, she called up Mississippi State University, predominantly white university, and this brother from another mother, white man, you know what I'm talking about. He came down to my high school. He drove all the way down to Jackson, Mississippi, and he introduced me to this program called the co-op program, or an internship. So for the first time, after I finished my freshman year, I was going to Ottumwa, Iowa, family. Hell, when I went to Ottumwa, I made it 1% black. Wasn't no black folks in Iowa, man. You got me? But for the first time, when I went to Iowa, I was working for John Deere. I was making, after my freshman year in college, more money than my mother made. At that point, I knew being smart is smart. Being dumb is dumb. I was getting paid to be smart. Manual labor, physical labor was no longer a part of mine. So Mike Matthews was an inflection point because he came and he showed me a different way. And then Dr. Edward Jones, my late great mentor, who has passed, taught me the beauty of my history. And that history has helped me to always want to reach out to help my people. And the most beautiful example of that to me is Brother Malcolm. So I'm saying to you that we absolutely must transition, not only as individuals, but then if we take a look around us and look at organizations, we'll see that organizations that are successful transitions. I can remember in 2010, I was looking at CNBC. And as I was looking at CNBC, at the midst of this economy in a free fall, they were interviewing William Ford Jr., the great-grandson of Henry Ford Jr. And they was trying to figure, what Mr. Ford, what happened to Ford? Why aren't they great no more? And he said, simply, as a company, we stopped changing. So the big three, Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler, became the little three, two of them sitting there asking Congress for a bailout. And them brothers in Asia, they became the big three, Toyota, Nissan, Honda. Why? Because they refused to change. Do you refuse to change? Think about it, Blockbuster. Everybody used to go to Blockbuster, but Blockbuster would not change. Now, what's the most hated word in Blockbuster? You got it, Netflix. Blockbuster no longer trades. Netflix is trading at $245 a share. Why? Because Blockbuster refused to change. Now, what about this, family? Remember the little popcorn, Jiffy Pop? See, get on Jiffy Pop. You make that little popcorn, you got to work it all day. It ain't like it is now. Y'all young. You just throw it in the mouth. microwave, you get your popcorn, but there was a day when you had to put it in that skillet and you had to work that skillet, work that skillet, work that skillet, work it. And I'm talking about to work that skillet for 5 to 10 minutes, and all of a sudden you heard pop, pop, oh, pop, 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 and it just stopped. But you only got one kind of popcorn. See, Jiffy Pop, they wouldn't change. Then as my brother Orville Redenbacher came in, oh, said, I'm gonna change it, family. I'll give you low salt, no salt, high butter, all butter, fat, free, nacho, free dip. I'll give you any kind of popcorn you want. Change is good, family. Change is good. So now for greatness. I'm talking about doing something that benefits not only you, but benefits somebody else. And if you look at everybody who has ever walked this earth that we have deemed as great, they all have one thing in common. One thing in common. And Darren, you said what that one thing is. So just to see if you all was listening to Darren, and I did say being smart pays, I'm gonna at least pull out $200. Hold on, family, but I'm gonna tell you this. You got like 5 seconds to get this right. There is one thing that if you look at every successful person in the history of the world, all of them have one thing in common. All right, let me hear it. All right, time's up. I'm just saying to you, some of you might have been thinking it, but I didn't hear it. But see, Darren had it right. The one thing that every person in the world, regardless of their sex, regardless of where they come from, the one thing that they all had in common that made them successful is that they had the opportunity to become successful. Listen to me, family. Abraham Lincoln is considered one of the greatest presidents in the history of this country. Why? Because he had the opportunity to deal with the moral issue of slavery. Susan B. Anthony is considered a great woman in our history because she had the opportunity to deal with racial discrimination that dealt women when it came to, voting discrimination that befell women. President Roosevelt is considered a great president because he had the opportunity to bring this nation out of the greatest depression it had ever seen in our history. Clara Barton is considered a great woman because she had the opportunity to deal with the misfortunes of others, and she founded the American Red Cross. Mary McLeod Bethune is considered a great woman because with only $1.50 in her pocket, can't you hear that Mississippi coming out of me now? With $1.50 in her pocket, she had the opportunity to deal with a group of children that this country would not educate for no other reason than your color. And today, her great American university, Bethune-Cookman College, has literally graduated hundreds of thousands of beautiful people because she took advantage of the opportunity. Martin Luther King, Cesar Chavez is considered a great man because he had the opportunity to deal with the discrimination and the mistreatment that befell Latino, Hispanic, migrant workers. And today, his organization stands as one that provides discipline, respect for that group of people. Martin Luther King Jr. He's not considered great because of his name. He's considered great because he had the opportunity to wake up the moral consciousness of America that was wrapped in hypocrisy. He's considered a great man. And then look at your founder, Gerald. Gerald is considered a great man, at least by me, and when history records that final note, he's considered a great man because what did he do with the mission? He said we will close the opportunity divide, not by dealing with preppy white kids or preppy black kids, but we will go inside the urban cities of this community that everybody looks at you and think you're a failure, and we will close that divide by giving you the opportunity to be successful. He's a great man. He's a great man. And so, family, 2013, you now gonna have your opportunities. You got your opportunities for greatness, and your opportunities are not just gonna come with your abilities to network computers. Don't limit yourself right there. Your opportunity is gonna come. Can you deal with global warming? Can you now find us an alternative fuel source? Can you help us with the conservation of land and resources? Can you deal with the growing economic gap between the haves and the have-nots? Can you deal with an educational system that at one time had us ranked #1 in the world and now you can't find us on the rankings? Can you deal with the devastating impact of an exploding prison population that looks more like you, and certainly it's not made up of a people holistically that look like you? Can you deal with that exploding prison population? Can you deal with unemployment running rampant? Can you come together and bring us true immigration reform? Can you deal with the issue of war? And now, based on what I saw with the Trayvon Martin situation, can you deal with the issue of race in this country? Can you deal with those opportunities? Or will you sit back and let them go? So, as I move to my close, let me share with you this. I was president of the Seattle branch of the NAACP. And I can remember when I had the opportunity to deal with some issues. And I was a vicious kind of brother. I was vicious. You know, I wasn't the kind of brother who wanted to sit down and be real diplomatic with you. Why? Because racism didn't deserve diplomacy, so I wasn't diplomatic with it, but I was fair. I was fair. So I can remember my wife and I had just gotten married. We'd probably been married 2 years, 3 years. My son was 1 year old. She was asleep that morning, and I wrote her a letter, said, honey, I might not be home, but just know that I love you. And I left and I went out. Ultimately, I led a protest, and I was protesting not against law enforcement because I respect the men and the women that protect our community, but I don't protect them rogue thug individuals who wear that blue uniform thinking they George Simpson, and I don't respect that kind of law enforcement. Cowboys, if you will. It's okay. It's okay. Whether you feel me or not, I wasn't respecting. I was watching too many black men die and nobody being held accountable for it. So the bottom line, family, is as I led this protest, and one of those protests, we marched out on I-5, and the traffic in Seattle is like the traffic here. So I want you to imagine in rush hour traffic, me and about 200 of my friends camping out on the freeway for about 2 hours. I figured we were going to be uncomfortable, everybody was going to be uncomfortable. I was a different kind of civil rights leader. I was an educated thug, baby. But anyway, family, I ended up getting arrested. And I remember when they threw the handcuffs on me. And I stood in front of my people. Yeah, I'm going down with my people. I'm down. I'm here with my folks. It's okay. I'll make that sacrifice. They took a brother on up into jail. It's okay, man. It's all right. I'm down with my folks. I'm here. I'm here. Boy, but I remember when they took them handcuffs off and they slammed that jail cell. Boom! When that cell hit, I went off. Listen to me, family. I just got married. I got a 1-year-old child. I got a mortgage. I'm in jail, family. Where was all my people's now? Maybe you shouldn't have took that opportunity. But I can remember at that time when I began to question whether or not I did the right thing, a voice came over me. It says something like this, and this is what I want you to remember when it comes to you facing your opportunities. That voice said to me, now, Carl, I don't want to give you the impression that it's going to be easy. There can be no great social gain without individual pain. Before the victory for brotherhood is won, some will have to get scarred up a bit. Before the victory is won, some more will be thrown into jail. Before the victory is won, some, like Medgar Evers, may have to face physical death, but if physical death is the price that some must pay to free my children and my brothers from an eternal psychological death, then nothing can be no redemptive. Before the victory is won, some will be misunderstood and called bad names, but we must go on with the determination and with the faith that this problem can be solved. When that voice came over me, no longer was I second-guessing whether or not I took the right opportunity to deal with the justice coming towards my people. So I'm saying to you, family, as you face your opportunities, there's going to be doubt that's going to creep up. As Jeremy said, there's going to be challenges. As Earl said, there's going to be sacrifices that you're going to have to make. But you need to remember this. And I'll leave with this story. There were two kings that walked out on the battlefield. And Earl, Reverend Earl, where are you? You was beautiful, brother. So Reverend Earl, yeah. So Reverend Earl, I'll leave this story. And you inspired me for this story as I sat there. You talked about the book being written. What is the book going to say about Reverend Earl? So these two kings met on the battlefield. Both of them had massive, massive armies. And it was going to be a bloody, bloody situation. But the two kings thought better of the situation and they walked out to the middle of the battlefield. King, why don't you bring your best warrior? I'll bring my best warrior. Whoever wins, that's who wins. So both of them called for their best warriors. As the king to the left signaled for his best warrior, it was a behemoth of a man. This man must have been 8, 9 feet tall, 800 pounds solid. The other king looked to the other side and he called for Achilles. Achilles was nowhere to be found. Send the little boy into town and find Achilles, but Achilles was an average-sized man. So the little boy found Achilles. He said, Achilles, the king needs you, he needs you. You gotta fight this man. And Achilles put his armor on, and the little boy said, Achilles, if I was you, I wouldn't go. He's the biggest, baddest man I'd ever seen. And Achilles jumped on his stallion, his big, black, beautiful stallion. And when he jumped on his stallion, he looked at the boy and he said, the fact that you wouldn't go, that's why history will never remember you. The book that we're talking about writing, Earl, it has to remember you. In class of 2013, you have continued on a path of greatness. You've done what few can do. All I'm asking you, all our family are asking you, is to continue on that transition to greatness. And I assure you that history will remember your greatness. God bless you and congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Mack, for those truly inspiring words, and I think we've all been changed from hearing your speech, and now you guys understand why I decided to go first.